Strong Style Evolved gave us one of the best women's matches of the year and may have made a new star altogether in Hazuki. We also got another match or two for Wrestle Dynasty. With just the Christmas Korakuen Hall shows left before Wrestle Kingdom and Dynasty, we're coming to the end of a tumultuous year for New Japan. It won't be remembered as one of the greatest. Can they end a difficult year on a high note? It's not looking great for that either. We'll look at the Long Beach show, we'll preview what's to come, and hope we can get started on a turnaround for the company very soon. But with that in mind, December is turning into a time to reflect on what's been a very strange 12 months for one of the major companies in the world. We'll talk about that. We'll look ahead at what's coming up on the weekend and the new announcements. So with Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome, everyone, to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. Strong Style Evolved is in the books. We're going to give a rundown of that show in just a little bit from the Pyramid in Long Beach, California. Now, we were supposed to have a special guest today. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Jeremy, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, things happen in life. Not really our place to say anything's going on, but all the best wishes to Chris Sampson. He was going to join us today. He's going to join us on January 3rd for the last minute debrief for everything that you need to know about Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, and Steven will be in Japan. So it's going to be a trifecta of information, and he's going to be in a group of people that we've got planned for the shows over the next couple weeks. So in fact, Steven, this is the last show that you and I are just going to do, you and I, for a good long while, where we're both in our home station, where we're both talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling, and could be a good month before we're back to that again. So really excited to just have you and me right now and talk about everything, including that unbelievable AEW Dynamite that just completely torched the entire respect and relationship between New Japan Pro Wrestling. Do we want to go here first, or do we want to just, talk about other things?
Maybe we should. What I want to bring up can you talk to us right off the top? Can you tell the folks at home who we have lined up next week, though? I think it's worth billboarding that. Like, who do we think is going to be on the show next week to join us for the special Boxing Day edition of Speaking of Strong Style?
Well, you know what, Steven? We every week try and make sure to advertise the other shows on Fight Game Media. We like to talk about the 5-Star Joshi show. We like to talk about Power Bombshells and the Dynamite show. And we've had a number of those individuals on the show, but we've never actually had the Power Bombshells on Speaking of Strong Style. We've been on their show.
Mel was on. Mel was on once. We've never had both. Yeah, not both.
Not together. We're going to do a round table next week with the Power Bombshells, both Sam and Mel. We're just going to talk about what everyone thinks about Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty and get their takes on it, what they're feeling about AEW is right now. Basically, just cover the whole gamut and just have a conversation. I'm really looking forward to this. It is they are a wonderful group of people, Sam and Mel, and so utmost respect. And I like having a platform in which more people can see what they're about.
Well, I'm glad too. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a terrific show, and make sure you tune in here next week. And I'm going to continue to use the term tune in, doggone it. I'm old enough that I'm going to continue to use the term tune in. But you guys know what I mean. We'll be here next week at our regular time with Sam and Mel, our siblings show, the Power Bombshells.
We may have more. I'm working on that, but they are confirmed. And, it's a busy time of year. And so, anyone with the grace to join us on the day after Christmas to talk about Japanese pro wrestling, God bless you.
So we are going to get to this. First of all, I want to say hello to Colin. You're here. I'm glad you're with us. He said, can New Japan please get their production issues sorted? Boy, we've been saying that over and over again since the very beginning. It's really awful, isn't it? And Venkin is here. Venkin, glad to see you. Dunstan, I know that you're not necessarily with us live. You will be if you can, but we are going to get to your questions. You have some really good ones this week. Logan James is here. Logan, good to see you. We're going to get to your comment here in just a little bit when it comes time to talk about the fantastic match we saw with Mercedes and Hazuki. But Jeremy has some things he needs to get off his chest early. We've been texting about this today. I didn't see the show last night. So can you tell the people why you're frustrated? First of all, what you're frustrated about, why you're so frustrated? There was an incident that happened with a major player in the New Japan AEW relationship, and it seems to have frosted your flakes quite a bit here. So tell the folks about what it was and why it was such a rough moment for New Japan and their fans.
I do need to say that before this all happened, I was watching AEW Dynamite, as I'm wont to do at 5 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, watching the Universal feed and whatnot on streaming. I'm tired at the end of my day, and first they do a video for Kenny Omega saying he's coming back, and I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Don't really advertise the Gabe Kidd match, but he's coming back. Great. At some point during the thing, there's a 3-second video inset in the corner showing Mercedes Mone and Mina Shirakawa are going to have a match. I'm like, great, cool, whatever. Awesome. Then we get to a Ricochet segment where he's in the middle of the ring. And Ricochet has begun to act a bit more heelish, and that's fine. It's good for him to be positioned as a heel given some of the matches that he has upcoming. However, the Hurt Business joins him in the ring, and he begins to suck up to them in a bit and talk about how good his match was. And, MVP grabs him forcefully around the chin and says no one likes kiss ass, and they tear the business card up in front of him. And they bully him out of the ring. They do not even beat him up. He makes no fight, nothing whatsoever. He is escorted out of the ring, and he willingly does so. And I was sad.
They made him look like a chump, basically, is the point.
They made him look like a geek. But that wasn't it. Steve. There was a later segment in which Swerve Strickland was in the back, and he confronted Ricochet. Swerve Strickland and Ricochet go back all the way to Lucha Underground, where he was Killshot and he was Prince Puma, and then they started WWE and all that thing. And at one point during the promo, Ricochet is called by Trevor. They allow him to just be addressed to as Trevor, and he deals with it. And granted, there is a possibility that this is all a long game, and they're all just trying to get Swerve under the idea that he's got two different enemies, but maybe they're all one different enemy. But in no way, shape, or form does any of this booking 3 weeks before AEW Wrestle Dynasty, where this one Trevor, a.k.a. Ricochet, is to challenge Zack Sabre Jr. in the main event, presumably, of Wrestle Dynasty, presumably for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
So you have heard the theory, and Venkin mentions it here, is that he smells a swerve coming. And it was something that Brian Alvarez mentioned on Wrestling Observer Radio. Neither he nor Dave liked this segment at all and didn't like that they made him look like a geek. But Brian did offer up something that might be the case, is that it is a swerve, as Venkin mentioned, where the Hurt Business is trying to play rope-a-dope a little bit, pretend like they have kicked Ricochet out and that Ricochet is, in fact, going to interfere on their behalf in a big match. I understand. I'm not a big fan of this either. You know what I'm saying? But if it turns out that he makes a major heel turn and interferes with the match, then maybe he's not a chump. He's actually a secret member of the Hurt Business already.
How does he look like anything but a henchman or the third guy in behind a manager and the top guy? In no way, shape, or form was this mindset designed to make Ricochet, even for like 3 months after he came in, like, just strap him up, put a rocket to him. If he doesn't live up to expectations, like, but they booked him in a way where even like the professional respect and courtesy towards another promotion. This is the main event for the Tokyo Dome. Like this is courtesy and like just general respect towards New Japan Pro Wrestling. The fact that they thought that this was a good idea to bury the top guy for their match that they are loaning out to New Japan Pro Wrestling is just fundamentally insane.
They don't care. I mean, at no point in this relationship that New Japan has had with AEW has AEW ever gone out of its way in any real
it's been
meaningful
completely
form?
Like take. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just to type. I mean, they don't respect New Japan in that way. They just don't. And maybe they'll lend talent and maybe they'll do this or that. But at no point in any part of this relationship has AEW done anything to actually help New Japan other than loan them out the talent. They've made New Japan talent look like schmucks on AEW TV and beat them over and over again. Bring them over, beat them, bring them over, beat them. They have interfered with schedules and things.
I expected Ricochet to do more in New Japan before this match. Like, I thought maybe he would show up in Long Beach this past weekend and, like, make his presence felt in some way, shape, or form, the way that they kind of did the Young Bucks. They didn't do any of that. And the thing that the reality that I think I just need cemented, and this is done, and this is a harsh truth, is that WWE was right with how they mid-carded him. Where they had him in their system was exactly right. And he went to another system to be in the exact same position at a lesser promotion.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how that turns out. I'm with you, though. I mean, I always thought it didn't have a whole ton of juice, the Zack Sabre match with Ricochet, except that it's going to be a great match. Okay, but in today, just having a great match isn't going to sell tickets. There isn't really a reason for the fans to really ache for this match other than the hardcore aspect of it of we just want to see these two actually work against each other. That's all fine and dandy, and I'm happy I'm going to see that match. I'm excited that it's going to be there. But yeah, as a ticket seller, it never had a lot of steam, and this certainly did nothing to help it.
Yeah, the show's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have a great time at Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. When the shows actually happen, you and I both know that we're both going to have a great time watching the shows. You're going to be there live, and the matches are going to rip. Everything's going to be great. It's so rough when it comes to just the idea that they have no respect for the build.
Yeah, they don't. They never have. They don't really have respect for their own builds for the most part. So there's that too. But because they botch those all the time too, and it's going to be worse. I mean, they're almost certainly going to have the IWGP Tag Team Championships for a while there too. And so, it's
but at least I can understand that at this point, it's possible that the Young Bucks aren't even on TV for a while. Like they could. I mean, we'll talk in the recap for Strong Style Evolved. There's like AEW stories playing out on New Japan, and it's a little weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. New Japan has been over backwards for AEW multiple times, and it's never the other way around.
Yeah,
and so it's been very frustrating in that sense.
I wanted to shout out BB from the Fight Game Media Discord. She had a ton of questions about why this was all such a huge deal, so I wanted to talk that through and shout her out because we were interacting on the Fight Game Media Discord. And if you want to join the Discord, talk New Japan, AEW, WWE, email gg@fightgamemedia.com and he will give you an invite into the Discord. We don't publicly advertise it, but we want to make sure that if you're listening to our shows, that you have a pathway to join up.
Logan thinks that the Rossi Ogawa relationship with WWE has been more mutually beneficial than the other way around. So
I've heard that the Rossi Ogawa isn't very popular right now in Japan.
Rossi's not?
Yeah, not the most popular guy right now. So.
I don't think he needs to care about that much. I don't think so. But
all right, so I feel like I've exercised that demon. I may have some. There might be some aftershocks throughout the show where it's kind of, I ricochet back to how annoyed I am. But for the most part, I think we should recap this Strong Style Evolved.
Yeah, and let's see. Colin mentions, let's see how long Mayu and Azumi get. Let's hope it's more than 5 minutes, huh, Ghetto? Yeah, exactly. I agree.
10 minutes, maybe 13.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be more than that, but it certainly needs to be more than 5. And the good news is there aren't 15 matches on this show, so they can stretch out a little bit. And there have been Wrestle Kingdom shows with like a dozen matches on them. This isn't it. So, all right, hopefully it'll turn out all right. Strong Style Evolved from the Walter Pyramid in Long Beach, California. Now, this is another edition of a building that New Japan has run frequently. This time they announced attendance as 2,435.
I have been to that building for a New Japan show.
It might have been a bit of a stretch. It is the 2,400, and that is the smallest crowd they've ever had there. So again, more evidence this company isn't on a hot streak right now at all. It's a bit of a cool product, and that is the smallest crowd. It's smaller than the announced crowd for, if you remember, the Super J Cup tournament they had, where El Phantasmo defeated Dragon Lee and Will Ospreay on the way to winning it. I think that was back in 2018. That was a while ago.
I think that might have been 2019. I went to the 2018 show, and that one had Rey Mysterio showed up on there, and they were teasing a match with Okada or something. Yeah. That was the Jay White and Hangman match, their first time meeting. That was also the Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi versus the Young Bucks match.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a good show.
Yeah, it would have been. And I actually think if that was the very first one drew big. The very first one drew big, like well over 4,000 people. So maybe it was 2019 right there, where the last time where they drew only about 2,500 people. So this was a small crowd for them in this building. But we began with Matt Vandegrift and Zane Jay in a strong Survivor match. This was the pre-show match. And I have to say, this is probably the best strong Survivor match they had. And indeed, Zane Grey, as we suspected, since they actually ran an angle for it, beat Matt Vandegrift. He's the new strong Survivor. The story with him was, of course, he had all the hair and the outfit and things in Chicago when he challenged Vandegrift for the strong Survivor title. Since then, went back to basics, went to Japan, he said, and studied at the Noge Dojo, shaved his head, basically young lioned himself, and then started all over and is now rising back toward the top. Also, what we suspected was the Vandegrift was moving more toward the main roster at NJPW Strong. That does appear to be the case, especially after backstage comments seem to have him teaming with Fred Rosser going forward.
What a weird combo.
Yeah, and then they acknowledged that. But Tom Waller sold it well. He said, "Hey, you and I team together, and we can't stand each other. You can team with him. You don't like him either."
So are they saving Waller out?
I don't know, but he just said that I have other goals that I want to go after than the tag team titles, and so it's going to be Vandegrift and Rosser apparently.
So I want to give you credit. It wasn't we that predicted that Zane Jay would win this one. It was you. I was like, I don't know. They never want to get rid of Vandegrift in that spot, and that was you. And fair play. That was an excellent prognostication on your part.
Thank you. Colin mentions the crowd started to leave before the main event. The ladies fought in an empty arena. I didn't pick up on that. I didn't think that was true. Did people leave?
I didn't notice that at all.
No, I got to admit,
they're dumb because I couldn't keep my eyes off the ring. I wasn't paying attention to people leaving.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily true there, Colin. I think they actually had a decent amount. And maybe some people left early, but I didn't notice. I didn't notice a substantial number of people gone during the main event there. I thought that Mercedes and Hazuki had a pretty good
I will say there's nothing on the lower level of that building. Any concessions, any restroom, anything that you need, you have to go all the way to the top of the building to get that stuff. So if it looks like people are leaving, they could just be coming and going.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, that was Vandegrift and Zane Jay. Zane Jay's our strong Survivor. So of course, this whole thing it's a pre-show match. I used to say that these pre-show matches were to test the equipment, but it's not, because the equipment sucks and never works. So and they don't fix it. So that's not what it's for. But either way, it's a chance to get some of the trainees from the LA dojo on the card a bit and get some experience in that. But once again, audio issues. The crowd wasn't mic'd well. They had trouble with the announcers, and so Veda did a good job. Walker was Walker, and we had the issues though. Again, once the crowd got loud, they would drown out the announcers. If the announcers raised their voice, it would get scratchy. The audio. It's again an amateurish production from the Strong team.
It was, but at the same time, like, I felt like the show was like an easy watch. Like, you didn't have to pay like super close attention.
I had feet issues, but I'm not sure if
I had feet issues at the beginning. I had to. The Grizzled Young Vets match was just ruthless with the feet, and I had to back in and out and back in and out.
All right. What was the next match after this one, though? The main card began with Mina Shirakawa, and she was facing Johnny Robbie. Now, Johnny Robbie is coming back after a long stint off. They talked about this during the match. She had neck injuries, and came back here, did a good job, and he did the job there. Of course, the idea was to get Mina Shirakawa over. She's the star in this one, and it was a glamorous driver for the win. They had plans for Mina later in the show to come out when after Mercedes. So exactly what it was supposed to do. It was a perfectly fine match. Put over Mina Shirakawa, get her ready to challenge in the main event.
I was so glad when they booked Mina's match after this for the Tokyo Dome and not for San Jose, because the strong rules, like those strong rules are like you defend it only in the States. So I was hoping that they weren't going to like stick to that, but I felt like there was a possibility that they would have to do it in San Jose. With that said, I thought this was a really good match. Did Johnny hurt her knee like legit, or was that part of her selling?
I think it was part of her selling. I haven't heard that she was hurt in the match there.
I thought it was part of her selling too, and I thought, okay, you got that part.
She did well. Yeah, that was a good opener, perfectly good opener.
Yeah, did the job.
After that, we had a title match. This was the strong tag team titles. This was Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs, the West Coast Wrecking Crew, challenging the Grizzled Young Veterans, James Drake and Zach Gibson. We had a title change here. West Coast Wrecking Crew were the baby faces, since we were indeed out west there. And they're from Colorado, but they were the baby faces there in California. It was pretty good. At the 10-minute mark, they did that draw the line thing. It's something that WWE does a lot, where they kind of nullify everything that's happened in the match so far, and then just have this thing where both teams just square off. They do it in every friggin' match at Hell in a Cell, War Games type of match. These guys beat the hell out of each other for a while, and then they just say, well, never mind who's selling, never mind who's winning. They're just going to stand in the middle of the ring and start the match over again, squaring off. And it landed with an absolute thud here. I mean, for some reason it gets over in WWE, but here, just maybe not here. Let the WWE do that part. So that one it was kind of an awkward blip in the match, but in the end, Drake used the scarf. They've been trying to get that scarf over as a foreign object type of thing, where he chokes somebody with it and then sets them up for the finish. And they did that here. They've done it. They did it in the last match with TMDK. In this case, though, Jarrell Nelson broke up the finish and ended up getting a win with a roll up, pulling on the trunks, because they are still kind of heels, even though they were the baby faces in front of this crowd. West Coast Wrecking Crew finally hold the NJPW Strong Tag Team titles. These titles bounce around a lot, so it's fine. And West Coast Wrecking Crew are a really good team. I'm happy for them to get. I'm not sure how much this belt means, but I'm happy that they are at least getting a little bit of attention here. We've talked about how they should be in World Tag League. I don't know if it's an availability issue or a money issue or whatever, but to answer one of Dunson's questions from earlier, I'm hoping that we get to see more of the West Coast Wrecking Crew in New Japan. I think they're both terrific. So, they got the win here, and we have new champs.
There's absolutely no reason for the West Coast Wrecking Crew to be the strong tag champs for the majority of 2025. Just put them on the show, have them wrestle a bunch of people, go through 4 or 5 shows in the domestic states, doing some title defenses. Perfectly stable act to have in the middle of the ring. Royce Isaacs and Jarrell Nelson, to me, have grinded immensely hard for a number of years, and I was very happy to see them win the titles. Although I would have said maybe don't mark out quite so much for winning these titles yourselves. The way they, I don't know, just kind of a little bit. But I did like that they reverted him back to heels afterwards with the Rocky Romero and Yo post angle, where Rocky got what was coming to him for interrupting their celebration. That's how I looked at it. And they were baby faces to me, but I understand why Rocky looked like a baby face and those were the heels. But to me, that was their time, and he stepped on their time, and he got a German suplex for his mistake. On the other hand, what the hell with Grizzled Young Veterans?
Well, the thing is, by the way, Rocky Romero came out and challenged with Yo for, I believe, the San Jose show coming up.
On Yo's behalf. Yo was not there, but he challenged on his behalf.
Yeah, and but they do this all the time with these titles. They bounce around all over the place. So the Grizzled Young Veterans in and out, and who knows? This could be a thing too. And we're going to get to this when we start talking about Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. They might not know if they can get the Grizzled Young Veterans next year. and maybe they're protecting themselves a little bit and putting the belts on people that they know they're actually going to have in 2025. And, there was a little bit of that issue going on with a couple of their championships where they ended up on people who left the company. And so I think this might have been a thing where we can always do a rematch, put them back on them later if they sign again. But since they're not signed after this show, probably ought to get these things off them so they don't walk away from us.
All I will say is this. The Grizzled Young Veterans joined at Wembley AEW. They were immediately put in a position to challenge with FTR and the Young Bucks, right? Mm-hmm. Put in a position to be a top level in the AEW tag team. This was the end of August. By the beginning of October, they had lost to the Outrunners and proceeded to disappear. Within 2 weeks, they beat TMDK for the strong titles, and I was like, okay, maybe they're just pivoting to getting a little bit of love over here instead. Q2 December, and they have now dropped the titles there. I don't know what they did. I don't know why the chemistry is so bad with them and these companies. I don't know why they decided to start them so high and now get them to a point where they are giving up titles within months of being free agents from WWE. The whole thing is absolutely confusing. And there's going to be a story behind this one day, and it is one of the most curious things I've seen in a very long time.
All right, next match after this one is the four-way, and this featured one member of each of the teams in the junior heavyweight tag team match at Wrestle Kingdom. So we had Clark Connors, Kushida, Kosei Fujita, and TJP here. Now, each of these guys' partners will participate in a four-way match at one of the Christmas Korakuen shows. So we'll see another preview that way. But in this one, perfectly fine. As this is strictly just to show off a little bit of a teaser. You don't bring everything out in a match like this. We're going to have that same concept take place in a couple other matches on this show. Kosei Fujita had Clark Connors in a submission hold. Clark was about to tap, but before he could tap, TJP managed to roll up Kushida and get the 3 count, sort of stealing the fall, so to speak, without the traditional way of stealing a fall, which is, give somebody your finisher and then get thrown out of the ring. But in this one, TJP got the victory over Kushida. That's not important so much as that it was just a little teaser, and I enjoyed the match for the most part. I'm very much looking forward to the four-way.
Did you hear the news that Kushida's done with TNA and he's a full-time New Japan wrestler?
That's good news for New Japan. Kushida's really good, and it sounds like TNA might be losing a lot of people, and that's a question that I'm going to bring up right now because that's a good segue. And Dunstan asked a question for the end. With so much talent potentially leaving TNA, if you had to pick one to join New Japan, who would it be? Now, that's a little different. Of course, Kushida was originally a New Japan guy, and I'm happy to have him back. If he wants to still live in LA and work in the dojo and train guys, I think that's only helpful. Or if he wants to come back full time, I'm down with it either way. Of the TNA roster, Jeremy, there's one person that leaps out at me that I would like to see in New Japan. I don't think we're going to get him, but one person that comes immediately to the forefront. But who from that TNA roster, which does have talent on it, would you like to see come over?
Oh, yeah, that guy. I'm trying to think. Who could this be? Probably Josh Alexander.
Oh, Mike Bailey.
Oh, yeah. I don't love Mike Bailey.
What?
I don't love Mike Bailey.
Oh, I do.
He's
his best signatures?
But, he has a ceiling to me, and I know that ceiling, and I don't.
Oh no! In that junior division, working with those guys, woo, boy, I would love to see that.
He doesn't need to promo in New Japan, and I think that's his big problem. Is he can't promo, and I think that his style doesn't feel completely main event on a big league promotion to me. Like his style works on the mid-level promotions at a top level, but I think at a top level, I'm not sure about Mike Bailey, and that's just a personal opinion. And I don't no shade towards the guy.
Yeah, I'll disagree with you on that one. When I saw that
tell
show,
me to go fuck myself and prove me wrong.
When I saw that match, the TV title match between he and Zack Sabre Jr. is among the better matches I've seen live. That match was absolutely phenomenal. And Colin says this is Speedball AEW bound. Why not? I think we all are.
I believe he is.
I think Tony's paying everybody. So who cares?
If there was a guy on the TNA roster, it would be Josh
looking forward to seeing him losing on Collision on a weekly basis.
Josh Alexander would be the guy for me. I totally understand the speedball Mike Bailey love. I just don't have it. And that's all I want to say.
Next one. Lio Rush and Hechicero. Terrific match here. Hechicero, the Lucha guys were really over in Long Beach.
Long Beach? You think?
Yeah. Go figure. Go figure. Yeah. No, Hechicero was over like gangbusters here. It sounded like a Lucha crowd. Like these were folks that were watching. These folks watch Arena Mexico on Fridays.
Yeah. I grew up in Huntington Beach, which is about 15 minutes away from Long Beach. I am not even remotely shocked that this guy was over like gangbusters. Like, I just know the community and like that the Hispanic crowd's showing out, dude.
Oh yeah. No, it was nice to hear it though. It was very cool. And Leo played into
match on the show before the main event.
Yeah, and Leo played into it, and he was smart enough to understand what was going on. Leo's a smart guy and understood what
going in.
Yeah, I'm sure he guessed. But either way, they put together a terrific match. Really enjoyed it. Just a fun exhibition of two really talented guys. So Hechicero got the win over Leo in about just under 12 minutes, which is, I think that's probably the perfect length for a match like this in the middle of a card. They just did all their good stuff. And this is exactly what you would have hoped for from these two.
Yeah. I love this match. This is just my kind of match. The reversals and the counters and the chain wrestling and making it entertaining and two guys and throwing in some high flying moves at the same time. It's the perfect mix. It is absolutely the perfect mix when you do the high flying and the mat chain wrestling. And when you got a guy that can do it, it's so good.
Yeah, a lot of fun. We get Hiromu Takahashi and Titan. We got more luchadors against Templario, the newest member of United Empire, and Jacob Austin Young. So I'm sure when this match was announced, Jacob Austin Young just thought, I'm losing this one, aren't I? As it turns out, not so much, because Templario is the new guy in United Empire, and they actually ended up putting him over. So Titan and Templario were the highlights of this one. Definitely a lucha crowd, too, like I mentioned. And it was a lot of fun watching those two interact. They've wrestled each other, I don't know how many times in Mexico, but their chemistry is terrific. Hiromu was very good. Hiromu had an angle to do later. So in the end, though, Templario with that power bomb backbreaker thing, he does pin Titan. And I think this is mostly a function just to say, hey, Templario is now in United Empire. Make sure you pay attention to him. He's a really talented guy. Put over the new member of the faction.
Templario is so good. Just the way that he was brought into the faction just made me laugh. Like, wow, they're just no nuance whatsoever. We're just doing this. Okay. Via social media. And then he came out, TJP is coming behind him after their match. And the whole presentation is great. And I thought this match was like Lucha City in a lot of ways. And I tweeted out something on social media. And I was like, to be Jay, like capital, and finding yourself in Long Beach with Hiromu, Titan, and Templario in a match, and just like shrugging your shoulders and actually retweeted the post.
Well, he had to be thinking, oh, well, this is nice. This is a nice opportunity. I don't have to do anything.
How did I find myself in this position?
I could just have fun. I don't need to carry anybody. These guys know how to do this. And of course, Hiromu has a long history of doing.
And it would have been a completely different match had it been Henare in there. So all of a sudden we went to this like lucha style party match, and it was great. I had a great time with it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Anything from the post match on this one? No, it was later on. That
was later on. After that, we had the strong open weight title match, not the never open weight. That champion would be out later, but this is the strong open weight title match. It was Gabe Kidd and Ryohei Oiwa. As we expected, Gabe Kidd retained right here. And this was good. It was fine. Kidd gave Oiwa a lot since Kidd was winning. And at one point, Oiwa had Kidd beat, but Clark Connors pulled the ref out in typical War Dogs Bullet Club fashion. It led to the pile driver and a Dr. Bomb finish. Kidd needs to be strong for his match with Kenny Omega, and he was here. Ryohei Oiwa is going to have his time. He absolutely is. He's too talented not to. This period of time, December of 2024, January 2025, not Ryohei Oiwa's time. And what I'm saying is New Japan just has other irons in the fire right now. And Oiwa's kind of been caught on the short end of that a little bit, where the focus is on – he might win that TV title match. He might. Who knows? But right now, he's helping out the company a lot by putting over guys who need to look strong for these shows here in early January. I think he did a fine job here. The match was good, but I know there have been some people who's like, oh, they're jobbing out Oiwa. Keep calm, carry on. There are stories to be told with Ryohei Oiwa. He's going to get there. But right now, there are other people just in line ahead of him. So he does the job here to get Kid ready for Kenny. Yeoman's work. Did a nice job.
The best compliment that I can give this match is that there were moments where I was like, he could beat him. Compromising in my head that Oiwa could actually win this match, despite the fact that Gabe Kidd has a date with Kenny Omega coming up, and he absolutely should look as strong as possible going into it. There were moments in this match where they wrestled in such a way where like, he could. They could do it.
Yeah.
And it was a tremendous match. You described it very well.
No, thanks. After that one, we had the trios. Oh, by the way, after that match, Gabe Kidd got on the microphone and said that he wants Tomohiro Ishii for the show in San Jose. He wants his next defense. He called his shot. He wants Tomohiro Ishii for San Jose. So a guy who's basically an AEW guy now. Anyway, it's going to be Gabe Kidd and Ishii. So another good challenge for Kidd. It'll be another good match. So
that is a very strong indicator to me that Kenny Omega is a one and done for Wrestle Dynasty. Anyone thinking that he might be there for an extended stay. The fact that Gabe Kidd is already making plans for matches beyond him, it just kind of feels like Kenny's going to do this match and then he's going to go back to AEW. And AEW, apparently, there are Fightful reports that say he might show up at World's End and something like that. But if he shows up at World's End, he really can't show up at the Dynamite after because he's already going to have to be on a plane for press conferences for Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty by like January 3rd. Mm-hmm. So there is, you could do that, but it's almost like you throw them out there and then you're going to have to wait a couple weeks. And if you really want to push Wrestle Dynasty, that's where you do it. But I'm also kind of skeptical that they're going to push Wrestle Dynasty all that much.
I don't think AEW is going to pay much attention to that at all. But
if they do, it'll be at World's End.
And I don't think.
But they have their own collision that's going to go up against it, basically. Like there's a collision show that's going to be on at 5 at the same time on the West.
They've never shown respect for New Japan before.
I get it. I'm mentioning all the realities of the situation. So
if Kenny appears on, if Kenny appears on Dynamite, it'll be in a video. It'll be like a VCR.
Right. Don't expect a live appearance from Kenny Omega on the New Year's show when they do their map simulcast is what I'm saying. Because or he could, and then he doesn't show up at the press conference. That would actually piss me off even more.
Venkin saying Ospreay Omega 3, we need it in 2025. I would love it. I would love to see that one. That'll probably be in AEW then. All right, back to that
after
match.
Okada.
Yep, back it up one, please. The graphic right there. We got to talk about this match. Zack Sabre Jr., Bad Dude Tito, and Shane Haste in the ring against Shota Umino, Fred Rosser, and Tom Lawler. So, again, very basic. Goes back to something I was talking about earlier. This was a tease. There was good stuff with Shota and Zack in this match. There was good stuff there. But they were not pulling out all the stops. They know that the real story is to be held at the Tokyo Dome, so they held back here a little bit. But the Shota-Zack stuff that was there was pretty good. His leg looked fine. Shota's leg looked fine. Mm-hmm. And in the end, Tito hit a pile driver on Tom Lawler to beat him. It's another job for Tom Lawler. And he, again, I mentioned in backstage comments, kind of backed away from his tag team with Rosser, saying, you should team with Vandegrift. You don't like him either, so you'll probably be a good team with him, which I thought was funny. But this is kind of Lawler kind of backing away a little bit from that angle of it. It was a way to get a win for TMDK. And, but just a basic preview.
I thought they did a bit of heavy lifting trying to get Shota to Zack's level in this match in terms of like perception. They did a lot of work in the post match. I felt like that's really what this existed to do, was just give them more time with each other on like the domestic stage. It's like you know that they have a match coming on, but this is their one opportunity to anyone watching at a normal hour, a live New Japan show in the States. You could watch it free. It was a big opportunity for Shota and Zack to face off. And I think they did a good job with that. And I felt like that was the objective here.
They're facing each other in more preview matches on the run up to the Tokyo Dome. We'll see a little bit of it in Korakuen as well. So
after that, I thought Ricochet would show up, and he didn't. And I was like,
No Ricochet, nothing else there.
Negative Ghost Rider.
No Claudio, no anything like that. I didn't think Claudio was going to be there. So we have a special tag team grudge match. This was Shingo Takagi and Yota Tsuji. So the LIJ team there, never openweight champion on that side, against Konosuke Takeshita and Jack Perry. Of course, Takeshita is the AEW International Champion. He has one of the belts there. And what we had here was more proof that Shingo and Takeshita is going to be absolutely amazing. And this was really good.
Banger.
This was really good, and they weren't into fourth gear yet. I'm not going to say they stayed in second. It wasn't like a total house show match because they got geeked up a little bit and they went at it a little, and it was a blast. But I don't think they got into fourth or fifth gear. Certainly, I can't wait for this. This is the match I'm most looking forward to seeing that weekend, and it's one of those things where Perry and Takeshita don't get along in storyline, so they played that up. Perry ended up hitting a low blow, a big knee, and a pin. Got the pin there on Tsuji. And that's going to put heat on their upcoming match, which is probably the right thing to do going into the Wrestle Dynasty match. This was really fun. The House of Torture aspect of it, I think, brings out the best of what we've seen so far of Jack Perry. I just think it fits him, suits him, and I like what I see when he does it. We love Takeshita. We've talked about it endlessly here that he should be a New Japan wrestler.
It took my breath away when Takeshita towered over Shingo when they were fighting, when they were going toe to toe with each other.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy.
And he was just like, there was just that moment where you actually see it, and you're just like, Takeshi's he's the main eventer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's the prototype, not the protostar. He's the prototype.
The post-match beatdown, though, led to Hiromu Takahashi coming out and making the save. And he had the heels run off. However, Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, snuck in the ring behind him and gave him the double super kick to also put a little bit of steam on their match coming up at Wrestle Dynasty, and also to potentially set the groundwork for a challenge, perhaps by Hiromu Takahashi and Tetsuya Naito somewhere down the line. Is what we're suspecting. Again,
if you didn't think it was happening before, it's happening now.
Yeah. Although it's not happening in San Jose because we found out Hiromu's already busy that night. So, but it'll happen eventually.
Naito's not winning the tag titles in the United States.
He's not going that far for it. Yeah, he might
that's like a New Japan Cup or like a New Beginnings match.
Yeah,
something.
I'm fine with that. I would rather have it in a New Japan ring than
I absolutely thought this was all like a New Japan program. Yeah. They were also doing AEW angles in this match. With that post-match thing where Jack Perry was not happy to see the Young Bucks. And in the backstage comments, he explained to them why he wasn't happy. And the Young Bucks proceeded to be like, oh yeah, you're fine. Everything's fine. And so do you remember what the backstage comment were about why he was mad?
I wasn't paying attention when the Bucks were talking.
So he explained to them that he was upset that the Young Bucks left AEW, packed their bags and shredded all their documents. And no one was there to have his back when he was strapped to a bus by Daniel Garcia and lost his title.
I would ask the question too.
You know what? That's fair. I would be upset too. And so he just looked at him like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, what is, like, he looked at him like they were from another planet. Like, just like, what is happening here? And he didn't have much patience for it. So we're seeing an elite breakup happen in New Japan, even though the entirety of the faction is contracted to AEW. And they're not mentioning any of this at all because Jack Perry hasn't been on their programming in the run-up to all this because of the C2 drama.
I'm sure there were at least a dozen people in the pyramid that cared. Now, let's move on. Now, we had the main event after this one. And my goodness, we had Mercedes Mone defending the NJPW Strong Women's title against Hazuki. Now, of course, Mercedes Mone is the star of this match. There's no question about that. I feel like we have two stars coming out of this match because Hazuki got over here in this one. And I'm not sure that there were, I'm sure that there are some people there that follow Stardom. There are probably some people in that crowd that get Stardom World. Probably not a pile of them. And I bet a lot of those people had only ever seen Hazuki maybe in that three-way match with Mercedes and Azumi last year. They left as Hazuki fans because this was just as good as we hoped for. It was worked as a very normal main event match in that it went 25 minutes. They gave them all the time in the world that they wanted. And they worked it like a main event, but it was never slow. This match was go, 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 not just spot, but Mercedes knows how to work a long match. She knows how to pace. And this was, I thought, really well paced, Jeremy. I did not think that they came out of the gate and blew up early and then had to kind of lay in holes for a while. That did not happen. I thought the pacing was solid, but there was something exciting the whole time. When I saw that this match was 26 minutes, I wasn't surprised. I knew it was long, but it did not feel long at all. Hazuki began to get over with a crowd that didn't quite know who she was by hitting 3 straight tope suicidas. And then once they got behind her, you could tell that she was having a good time. The match built, like I said, very well. There were "This is awesome" chants, which we don't often get at strong shows even. Hazuki hit a code breaker off the ropes and then a big senton off the top for a really good 2.9 count. There were people that were convinced they might be seeing an upset here. And after that, Mercedes Mone with a series of backstabbers. She hit the Monet Maker, which you almost always leads to a pin. That's a very well-protected move, but Hazuki got her foot on the ropes, and that got a very big pop. Not very many people get out of that move. It's happened, but not very often. Second Monet Maker won it, but this match was fantastic. The crowd was into it. They were cheering, going with all the near falls. There were the 1, 2, oh type of exclamations, which is always beautiful when you can get it. And I can't say enough about this one. This is one of the best one of the best matches we've seen on Strong, for sure, period. It was one of the best women's matches of the year.
Is it the best women's match of the year in the States?
Oh, in the States. In the States, maybe. I'd have to go back and look because there were some – WWE has had some really good ones. The other one, as far as best women's match of the year, even in New Japan, Iwatani and Watanabe, Momo was pretty great.
Did you see Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Mone?
I don't recall.
What about Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale?
I saw that one. It was pretty good. That was pretty good.
This is better than that.
I think it was better than that. Yeah, I think it was better than that.
Those were the two that came to mind about the best women's matches. I think there was one really good at WrestleMania, but the fact that I can't think of it, I think Becky and Rhea was really good. Now that I look back. But for the most part, I think this is it. I think Bianca's
had a couple of great ones too in there too. So she's been real strong too.
This year? Yeah, she's had some good ones. She's been doing a lot of the tag team stuff though, so she hasn't been doing a whole lot of main event singles matches.
Venkin mentions Sari and Mayu. Yeah, boy, there have been some great ones this year. So yeah, there have been some, but this is among them. This is absolutely among them. And remember, Mayu and Momo Watanabe had an incredible match just last month. So there's a lot of.
So what do you think about the fact that Mercedes is not booked for San Jose, but Mina is?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that means or what we're saying here. So that all is behind the scenes stuff. But Mina Shirakawa came out and answered her challenge afterwards. So we are going to be seeing that at Wrestle Dynasty. And Mina's a star in the United States now. She's gotten herself over big time with the AEW crowd and with the New Japan Strong crowd. So it's going to work, and that's going to be a terrific match as well.
Where do you think that match is on the card on Dynasty?
Where is it listed right now? I'm going to go.
Do they have the full? They have the full match?
I believe so. I'm going to go check it right here. Oh, you know what? We don't necessarily have.
We have Kingdoms, but we don't have Dynasties.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Boy, that's a great question. I would think that would be either second or third from the top, maybe.
Why?
Because I think they're going to put Kenny and Gabe up there pretty high. I think they're going to have remember, it is New Japan, so I think they're going to have their World Heavyweight Champion in a pretty high spot. And I don't know if New Japan is quite ready to put a women's match in the main event.
Dude, I think this match is going to be on the bottom, near the bottom of the card.
You think so? It's going to be like second or third?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And Benkin mentions that's something that's very important. Azumi might be the champion in San Jose. The IWGP women's
will say
champion
this.
at that one.
The
That's
match,
also possible.
the match will be above the women's 4-way.
Yeah.
So maybe 5th on the card, with the women's 4-way being 1st or 2nd on the card.
I think it'll be a little bit higher than that.
I hope so, but it's still like the New Japan Women's Strong title, and
it's still
going to
Mercedes.
have the Never
it's Mercedes,
title.
Though they treat Mercedes like a big star. Remember how they debuted her? So yeah, I don't know.
Would you have it above Zach and Ricochet at this point?
No.
You wouldn't have Mercedes and above Zach and Ricochet?
No.
Okay.
Now he's your world heavyweight champion. It's a New Japan show. He's the New Japan world heavyweight champion. I'm putting him.
So we're thinking somewhere between the 5th and 7th match on the card.
That'd be my guess. Again, I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise me. That's kind of.
I'm just. It's a very political card.
Well, yeah, it is that.
Is this a show that is worth going back and watching if you have not seen it?
Yeah, especially because you don't have to pay anything extra for it. It's part of your subscription. Go back and watch this show. This is a fun night of wrestling.
And also, by the way, wrestling for the next couple weeks.
Important to note, also, by the way, that Mercedes Mone Mina Shirakawa match is also for Mina's Rev Pro title. It's title versus title. If she gets to the dome with the belt, I don't know why she wouldn't. Then it's title versus title for that one. So that's interesting. Twist.
I don't know why, but I feel like that favors Mina. Because I don't see Mercedes going to the UK all that often to defend that title.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to see how that turns out.
I am very curious about that one because I think Mercedes should be winning in the dome.
Yeah,
but I'm not necessarily sure she's winning in the dome.
It's an interesting way to plant the seed of doubt, isn't it?
Yeah,
because absolutely. I mean, truthfully, if they didn't put the Rev Pro title up, there'd be no question in our minds, would it?
No, I think it would be perfect about it. Mina's a big enough star that you could take the title off of Mercedes and be able to pivot with strong shows without like having Mercedes being the top act.
Yeah.
Because if we're going into 2025 and Mercedes is no longer necessary as the AEW like partnership top act, and we're pivoting to Takeshita, for example, for the next 6 months, that kind of thing, they really just want one or two at the top. And right now, there's an embarrassment of people. Now that AEW is going to Matt's at the new year, and there's I just think a lot of the people that have been on loan to New Japan right now may not necessarily be there after Tokyo Dome.
Well, remember and Venkin brings up a good point here. Remember, some of the reasons that Mercedes is so bloody happy in AEW is that they let her do things like this and let her do whatever she wants. And he mentions, I wouldn't be surprised if Mercedes knows some people in Rev Pro she wants to have a match with. So maybe she has an idea.
I am with you that she knows people, but you have to think about like her contractual obligations. You know, it's like she's got to be with AEW Dynamite either Wednesdays or Saturdays, if not both.
But doesn't she have a bit of a deal where she has a little bit of freedom like Moxley can, where she can make dates with other people if she wants to?
Moxley doesn't have that deal anymore.
I think Mercedes might. They might have been
part of that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't. Tony Khan got rid of that like stipulation, like Moxley going to OTT and all these things where like there was a point in time where that was a very real thing. But
Mercedes is still on her first deal, so if she got that deal when she signed, she's still on that.
She may be, and it may just be an allowance for New Japan. How many other promotions has she really been showing up on besides New Japan?
Yeah,
she can punch her own ticket. She can go to Rev Pro at any time. I'm just saying the idea of her as the Rev Pro champion seems like that would require her to be in Rev Pro a lot more than she is now, and that may be a tell.
Yeah, I mean, how often do she really have to go? Mercedes Mone is better than the AEW Mercedes Mone version, according to Logan James, and I agree with him.
I agree with that too.
Better booking too. And then what was
she hits differently, and I don't mean that like she physically hits differently.
Logan also mentioned earlier. I want to get back to his comment here because we're talking about the match. Mercedes and Hazuki is one of the best women's matches he's ever seen, and Hazuki, I believe at multiple spots she was winning, just incredible. Yeah,
I'm right there with you, Logan.
Yeah, I agree with you. They did a great job of making it look like the upset might really happen. And she's terrific with that. Both of them were. And Mercedes, I think, has been almost nothing but a plus in New Japan rings. I think she's come through in almost every time. I mean, she broke her ankle and managed to finish the match and did the right thing in putting over Willow in that spot. I have no complaints about Mercedes Mone's New Japan work. But you can argue with whether it's been good in AEW all you want, but I think it's been nothing but a positive for her New Japan stuff.
Who else is there left for her to really wrestle in the Stardom that like has to happen?
She's well, I mean, she has wrestled Mayu, but there are still plenty of people in Stardom that she could work that are really excellent. I mean, I'd like to see her and Momo.
That's what I'm saying. I want to know who you think.
She's put me on the spot. I mean, they have all their main eventers like Micah.
She's done the Azumi match. She's done Hazuki.
Tam Nakano. She hasn't wrestled Tam yet.
Okay.
She hasn't wrestled Natsupoi yet. I think it would be great. They have
Siorianu. So there's stuff to do.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Just making sure I had the context of like, is there a pipeline of talent for her to just be like, hey, line up, let's do this match.
Oh, sure, yeah. Okay, I mean, there's a lot there. She hasn't wrestled very many people really from start, considering Stardom's depth and how many quality wrestlers they have. She's only faced like a handful of them, and so they're playing.
All right, what else we got?
All right, well,
any
well, let's bring up the new matches that have been made for Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. Well, not so much for Wrestle Kingdom. There are a couple things for Wrestle Dynasty now. There now is a Lucha Gauntlet match. That was not there last week. Up to 8 participants, 4 from New Japan, 4 from CMLL. They will enter at 1-minute intervals. In a gauntlet match, first pinfall or submission decides the match. So it puts you in a strange spot where you're actually hoping you're in first instead of last, because the first pinfall or submission decides it. So theoretically, if you're last here, this match could be over by the time you're in. I'm sure it won't be, but it's a way to get some CMLL guys on the show finally. Really, we were kind of wondering about that, but it looks like it'll be 4 New Japan guys, 4 CMLL guys, and in a gauntlet match. So I'd imagine that'll be pretty early in the show there. And then
I hope Hechicaro's in it. Hechicaro, Templario, Titan.
Yeah, those guys. I'd be happy to see them. And then we also know, as we mentioned, that we will be seeing Shirakawa and Mercedes on there as well.
These are going to be good. Again, I am super glad that this is not happening in San Jose because it's a strong title. And, we had the rules laid down in Tanahashi that the strong championships would only be defended in the States. And, Gabe Kidd is not defending the strong title against Kenny Omega. So I had reason to worry. They just said, screw the rules. We're just going to do it this way. I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, and then we also know 3 of the 4 participants for that 4-way women's match, the International Cup, where the winner gets a shot at any title in the alliance they want. So now we know that it is Athena, the ROH representative. We know the AEW representative is Willow Nightingale, so both pieces of good news there, right? I mean, that's good and good. And then the other one, we said the CMLL one was Friday the 13th in Arena, Mexico. They had their match. And we thought that Sanely was the only underdog in that one. Turned out that I thought it was going to be Zeus's. And then it turns out Persephone ended up winning that.
Sure.
So, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. So we're going to get Athena in the Dome, which I'm excited about. That's really cool, too, because I saw Athena, one of her farewell matches, so to speak, here. She's from Texas, and so she did it wasn't the final one, but one of those things where she's wrapping up her time as Athena because she was about to go to NXT and become Ember Moon at that time. And so seeing her there in a show in front of a couple of hundred people in here in Austin, and now I'm going to get to see her in the Dome. I think that's really cool. And I'm really excited for her. We all know how talented she is. We know how good Willow is. Persephone's real good. And so now Stardom has a very convoluted system for putting this together. So they are going to have a 4-way match to determine who goes to the 4-way match. Okay, fine. They're having a series of 4-way matches to get into the 4-way match to get into the 4-way match. So you have to win a 4-way qualifier. Then you go to the Stardom 4-way match. If you win that,
16, right?
yeah. So there are 16 women it could possibly be. I'm not even going to pretend I know who the hell they're going to send for this. But, what can you say? You have Mercedes Mone and Mina. They're at the Dome. You're going to have someone winning the International Cup earlier in the show. I think we can put 2 and 2 together and figure out someone's getting their ass challenged from the winner of the International Cup somehow there. So there you go.
So what I would do if it were me. Perfect scenario.
I'm just happy that Tony finally freed Athena from Ring of Honor solitary confinement. Amen to that.
This is where we're going here.
Yeah.
In a couple of days, Athena's going to wrestle Billy Starks for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. This has been a story long in the making.
Yeah.
For a very, very, very long time. And this could be a potential opportunity for Athena to lose, then go and win at the Tokyo Dome and challenge Mercedes afterwards for the TBS title and shock the world and win. And that could put Mercedes off of that title and move her onto the world title. And then Athena could spend some time on AEW programming finally.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Athena needs to be on a bigger stage than Honor Club, which, that's... yeah, she needs to be on a bigger stage than that. She's too talented. A couple other questions before we move on from Dynasty and Kingdom, because it all ties together with some of Dunstan's questions on Strong Style Evolved. He says it doesn't feel too much like an authentic Japan show. I guess that's subjective there. But he asked, do you think New Japan has done enough work to make Zack and Shota a Wrestle Kingdom main event? I think that having Shota pin Zack in World Tag League helped. We talked a little bit about this, how this year hasn't been the best year for New Japan. I'm not sure there is a mind-blowing Tokyo Dome main event in the same way there used to be, when there was an Okada and a healthy Tanahashi and a healthy Naito and Nakamura and all that stuff, where you can say these are two of the three or maybe the two best wrestlers in the world and they're going to meet in the main event. We don't have that right now. And so this year is all about building that again and creating new main event guys. So have they done enough work? I'm not sure there is a way to make it like one of the classic Tokyo Dome main events. I think they've done a decent job of giving Shota a story, giving Shota some wins over Zack to plant the seeds of doubt here. So I think they've done work on it. So what do you think, Jeremy, as far as that question goes?
I think yes, and I'll tell you why. Because Yota Tsuji did something very interesting in this show, and that he called out Gabe Kidd, and he said, you need to win this match to defend the honor of New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so what New Japan is trying to do is to make it an us versus them scenario where it's like, we are not going to let these motherfuckers embarrass us on our home turf.
Yeah.
And Yota Tsuji is doing that kind of on his own. And he's also trying to campaign to get an Okada match, completely disregarding whatever was going on in the Young Bucks Jack Perry backstage segment. Just completely going into business for himself, trying to lure Okada over for match. God bless you, Tsuji. work your work, buddy. But
yeah, that's true. And he did that when Okada was leaving. He went up to him and just said, you are disappointing me. Okada tried to.
I think he just came in and he's like, Okada was leaving and he was on the come up. Was like, I'm not into your bullshit, dude.
I also think he's just thinking, you'll be back here someday. There's no doubt you'll be back here someday, and I'm going to be in the main event when you do.
I'm going to be a top guy when that happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens when that happens.
And then what else we hit? Yeah.
The Forbidden Door this year could be very good if they really lean into like a feud style war between New Japan and AEW in some way, shape, or form. Takeshita taking the Never title could be like an opening shot. We have things here or there. When AEW guys come over for the New Japan Cup, it could get real chippy. I want to see stuff like that. I want to see the New Japan guys in AEW. This isn't going to happen. When New Japan guys come over to AEW, it gets a little chippy. Like the New Japan guys, put a little mustard on the slab kind of thing.
He's also asking, what do you think is the main factor that makes the junior tag division more exciting than the heavyweight tag division? And I think there's two things. First of all, more consistent tag teams in the junior division, which is going to lead to another Dunstan question. I think they're just more established, consistent teams. I think you get a lot of makeshift in the heavyweight division, and then just action. And the junior heavyweight tag matches are a little quicker and certainly higher paced, and they're just a little bit more exciting than the heavyweight tag action. And he said, but do you think adding West Coast Wrecking Crew to the heavy tag division would bring help to bring another actual tag team instead of makeshift? Yes. I think that's something that's missing from the heavyweight tag division a lot is just a lot. We have Bishamon, we have TMDK, but it ends up being a lot of makeshift teams. And I think if you have a team with a name and a logo and a consistent working style that they've been together for a while, I do think that would help the heavyweight division. So
yeah, I mean, then get out of question like the Forbidden Doors in the UK. Yeah, it's in the UK, but it doesn't really matter. Like they need to have like a target place where like these like we can't wait to get our hands on each other, and this is about that time where that's going to happen.
And then let's see, yes. Did the Oiwa Kid match feel like it was too early? No, I think we covered that as it was mainly just to have Kid look strong. And Oiwa's time is going to come, just not now. And did it do a good enough job to develop Wrestle Dynasty matchups? Well, I think it brought one that does have interest. Amina Shirakawa, Mercedes, I think, is a healthy addition to that card. I think that was a smart move. And it did that. And whether having the Young Bucks run in helped a lot or not, it did fine. It did fine. It added a new match to the card that we are into that wasn't there before. So I guess mission accomplished in that direction.
Yeah, nothing to add to that.
All right. And let's see, what else do we have here now? Oh yes, Christmas Korakuens are coming up. So we have the main event of the first night. So this is December 22nd and December 23rd are the Christmas at Korakuen Road to Tokyo Dome. A couple of interesting things here, Jeremy. The opener, which is match 0, so the pre-show match. On the first night, the 22nd, is Shomakato. On the second, it's Katsuya Murashima. They are facing X. It is called a Chase Your Dream match. So each one's going to be facing an X. I don't know. It could be any of the guys from the dojo that usually train them, but who knows? I thought that was curious. They hadn't done that much. And then I noticed in some of the run-ups here, they've had a couple of the Road to the Tokyo Dome shows already that aren't on NJPW World. They're strictly house shows. But the David Finlay Ghetto group, the War Dogs, have been getting themselves disqualified quite a bit, or at least they have the first couple of nights, so something to look out for there. And then here at the Sunday 22nd edition of the Road to Tokyo Dome in Korakuen, the matches will be on top. Bushi, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji against Ghetto, Sanada, and Finlay. Tanahashi and Shota Umino teaming up to face Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. in the main event preview. And then we will have the King of Pro Wrestling provisional match. This pretty much decides who is the King of Pro Wrestling in 2024. And since it's a King of the Mountain type of title holder, it's the last one before the end of the year. It is Great O-Khan against Taichi, and Taichi's rules 1 out. And what that means is they will be having a sumo match to start off with, no rope sumo match. Then they will be fall number 2 will have Yoshinobu Kanemaru as the special guest referee. These are all throwbacks to Taichi's KOPW matches from the past. And then if it goes that far, the third fall, it will be a lumberjack last man standing match. That is the KOPW match. Can the Great O-Khan make it all the way around, complete the lap, and get his name, or get the Great O-Khan's name? He's beyond gender. He's just Great O-Khan.
No matter what happens, this is the last KOPW match for Taichi.
Can he get it etched on the belt itself?
I think Taichi needs something. I think Taichi needs a little something. He should steal the title and be the KOPW.
I'd be heartbroken for Great O-Khan if that.
I wouldn't. He's got another shot. It could be a thing where he every year he could be the King of Pro Wrestling provisional, but at the very last it just gets stolen from him, and he chases after it for a couple of years. Be great. The Taichi, 18,000 votes, 13,000 for Taichi's rules.
Yeah, it was a big winner, and that was a big winner. They like the Taichi idea. So that's going to happen there. Now, the next night, that is the 23rd, so that's going to be Monday. And that will be another, like I mentioned, the Chase Your Dream match. We'll get a couple of just basic preview stuff there, like Taka Michinoku, Taichi, and Doki against Wato, Kojima, and Desperado. We'll be seeing that. That 4-way with the other members. Mm-hmm. That will be on the 22nd as well. That 4-way that previews the junior tag team title match. The 23rd sounds a little more house showy, really. The main event is Ishii and Umino against Ryohei Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. in just a straight preview tag of the main event. But always, as always, just look out for little mini angles, something going on Sunday to lead into something Monday. They like to do little things like that. And second from the top on Monday, Bushi, Shingo Takagi, Yota Tsuji against Sonata, Finlay, and Geto. So slight twist on that match. And we'll just be seeing a lot of the previews there. Monday the 23rd looks more like a traditional New Japan house show.
Yeah, it'll be a couple shows. We're going to be back next week. We'll talk about it briefly. If there's anything really that we need to cover, we'll watch the shows and do that. But most of it's just going to be, every day is kind of tied up for Wrestle Kingdom. We're getting some shows to just kind of kick the wheels to make sure these guys are getting action and, aren't getting too stiff. But we're here, guys. We have arrived to the Tokyo Dome.
We also have a couple matches for Battle in the Valley announced. And we mentioned the Gabe Kid is going to be defending his title against Tomohiro Ishii. Of course, the strong title is not going to be on the line against Kenny Omega, so that's not a title match. But that one will be there. Battle in the Valley was January 11th? Yes, yep. January 11th in San Jose.
I will be there.
Tomohiro Ishii and Gabe Kidd. I tell you and I have New Japan covered like a blanket. And Benken, I'm going to answer your question about which shows I'm going to. I'm going to quite a few. So, Ishii and Gabe Kidd. The other one is Sumi Sakai, a longtime Joshi wrestler, is retiring. And she said that she wants her retirement match to be at Battle in the Valley. She, of course, is a long-time run with just about every promotion you can think of, not WWE or AEW, but I mean, geez, most of the indie promotions you can think of in the United States, most of the promotions in Japan she's worked with. She's just been everywhere over the last 20-some years. I think her career goes back to the late 90s and All Japan Women. But Sumi Sakai says she is going to be retiring. It is going to be a trios match. We don't know we only know half the contestants so far. She asked Hiromu Takahashi to be in that match, and he accepted. And then he said, let's make it a trios match. And so far, Mayu Iwatani, one of the greatest of all time, is going to be one of Hiromu's partners. We don't know who the second partner will be, and we do not know who will be on Sumi Sakai's side yet. So all we have on this one is Sumi Sakai, X and X, versus Hiromu Takahashi, Mayu Iwatani. That's crazy talent in one team, and we don't even know who the third person is.
I wouldn't be shocked if Sumi brings in Desperado.
Yeah, maybe
they have a relationship. Like she was on the show, right? His Desperado, the Desperado show, right? When he did his thing, she was on that thing. Pretty sure she was. So I would not be surprised if he was on the other side against Hiromu.
Yeah. And speaking of women's wrestling, while we're on the topic here, Logan asks, do you think if Rossy Ogawa is still president of Stardom, that their partnership would be with WWE and not AEW? No, I think that the partnership would either not exist or it would be with AEW. The reason is Stardom is owned by the same umbrella company that owns New Japan. I don't think there's a real way for Stardom to work with WWE while New Japan worked with AEW. It's all under the Bushy Road conglomerate, and I don't see a way for that to really work. Colin's saying they upgraded the Stardom site. I know. I'm going to try to watch some Stardom here tonight, and I'm curious to see what they did with Stardom World. I hope they've improved it.
Did they create an app for Apple TV?
No, they sure
didn't. Then.
Yeah, I know.
Why don't you just put it on New Japan World and make a feature to pay even more money for that?
They have different television contracts than New Japan does. That goes back from before that goes back from before they were both part of Bushy Road. So some of that stuff is grandfathered, and it's very complicated as to why they can't just fold things in the way you would think.
I will agree with you. I think just wrestling relationships would be more fractured rather than Roxy creating a relationship with WWE instead of AEW.
Yeah, I just don't think that would be a tenable situation. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And Venkin, you asked, what shows am I seeing when I'm in Japan? Well, let me tell you. I have tickets for 5, in possession of tickets for 5. I'm going to Wrestle Kingdom, I'm going to Wrestle Dynasty, and I'm going to New Year's Dash. So all the New Japan stuff, I'm going to all 3 in a row right there. I also have purchased tickets for TJPW's show on January 4th. That's a daytime show. So I'll be going to Korakuen Hall at around noon or something, midday in Japan, then coming out of Korakuen Hall, turning left and walking into the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom. Also on the is it the 5th? No, on the 3rd, excuse me. I'm also going to be going to the Stardom show on January 3rd. And that's in the Ariake area in a new building, a building that hasn't run wrestling before. And I am also hoping that I can get into Korakuen Hall for All Japan on the 3rd. That's a goal. That's a Korakuen Hall. They're having a big show. I haven't seen All Japan yet. I saw Noah when I was in Japan last time. So I want to kind of check some other things off the list. Also, Noah isn't running in Tokyo so far while I'm there. So I'm hoping to see All Japan on the 3rd. I'm hoping to get tickets to that. And the other one is Sendai Girls is doing a show at Shinjuku Face on the night of the 5th. So Wrestle Dynasty is an afternoon show. So Wrestle Kingdom's at night. Wrestle Dynasty is afternoon. I might have time to get down to Shinjuku Face and see Sendai Girls in Shinjuku Face that evening. So I'm going to cram as much as I possibly can in, but that's the agenda.
Are you going to even be awake to do a show on January 3rd or whatever day that
they sell really good iced coffee in cans at every vending machine in Japan, and there are vending machines in Japan approximately every 20 feet. I can caffeinate the living hell out of myself.
All right,
and I will make it to those shows.
We'll go through this again for people who were not here at the beginning of the show. Next week, we are doing a roundtable with fellow Fight Game Media contributors. Right now, the Power Bombshell, Sam and Mel will be joining us. We may have more. The week after, Steven will be in Japan, planning on joining us live to talk about that show. And with us will be, for our final Wrestle Kingdom preview, Chris Samsa, who does the Sport of Pro Wrestling website, the very popular G1 competitions, and is altogether a New Japan expert. From there, we will be doing post shows for Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, where Steven will be live from Japan watching these shows, and I'll be here, and we'll be recapping those shows. After that, January 9th, I believe, we're going to have Lyric from Lyric Wrestling joining us to recap everything that happened from her point of view and do the dust settle. And then we're going to preview Battle in the Valley, which is going to be on January 11th. So we got a ton of people coming on, ton of guests, ton of content, lot of information for New Japan. And so that is our Wrestle Kingdom coverage for you. And we wanted to give you a map and a layout of everything that you can expect from us over the next month.
Yeah, and as Venka mentions here, Tam versus Unagi Sayak in the Stardom show, which I'm excited about. But yeah, they have not announced much for that show on January 3rd, the Stardom show on the 3rd. Keep in mind, they have Dream Queendom, which is their biggest show of the year on the 29th. I'm not hitting town early enough to go to that, although I'd love to. But Dream Queendom is kind of their focus on December 29th. I'll be watching that one live here in the States a few days before I head over across the pond. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably be in a fog.
When do you leave and when do you get back?
I am leaving in my time. I am leaving something like 6 in the morning on New Year's Day.
Okay.
So on 6 in the morning on New Year's Day, I fly out. Because of the time difference and the date line and all that stuff, I arrive in Tokyo on January 2nd, about 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So you basically lose the day that way. And so what that means here is, but our show, which will be on January 2nd, takes place basically at 7:30 in the morning on the 3rd in Tokyo because they're so far ahead. So I should be at least.
That sounds like you're going to be on the flight when we're supposed to do a show.
No.
Okay.
That means when you're doing the show, it's the 3rd. I arrive.
I'll tell you what, I'm
going
to send you a link if you're there. Great. And if not, me and Sam are flying.
I think I'm going to do it. I think I can do it.
Great.
But yeah, that's the plan, man. Is to be up in my tiny little hotel room and only a few minutes walk from the dome.
Revealing a little backstage stuff. We actually did a show with the We Work Stiff guys.
Yeah.
On Monday at I was up at 4 a.m. and Steven was up at like 6 a.m. and we recorded for about an hour, about a half hour after that. And it was just one of those. They were up until it was midnight their time. So we were getting up, and they had been recording all day. God bless those guys. They're doing a stiff mix show covering Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. They're going to be like 15 hours.
Venkin mentions this too. You're right. I had to choose between Marigold and Stardom, that shows head-to-head with Marigold, and that's Utami versus Sari. I would love to see that too. The two shows are impossible to do both because the start times are not the same, but they're too close. You can't go from one to the other and make it, and certainly not see the good stuff. I really pondered that as to which one I wanted to see. And I decided on the Stardom show simply because I've never seen a full Stardom card. And keep in mind, I'm going to be back in Japan, it looks like in May. So I still have other chances. But what I'm looking at there are more Stardom wrestlers that I have been watching longer that I would like to see in person. I've only seen like Mayu Iwatani and a couple of the Stardom wrestlers in live, when they've come over here, and there's more depth on that side. And while Marigold's going to have a great match, Utami and Sari is going to be magnificent. I know it. Just more Stardom wrestlers that I've enjoyed longer that I want to see, and I have other chances to see Marigold, so I will try to do that. But Marigold's in that spot, Jeremy, where you're either green as grass or one of the best in the world. Like they haven't really filtered out a mid card yet, so they're starting to build the lower parts of that roster by getting them more matches and getting them into things. But you're basically either Sari and Utami Hayashishita and then they have Mirai, they have Victoria Yuzuki's very, very good. There are people at the top of that card that are great, and then everybody else is very, very green. And they haven't really developed that mid card yet. And Stardom, I think, was like up and down the show, just have people that I'm really excited about seeing. So, yeah, and Colin mentioned, of course, the Marigold and Stardom shows clash. Believe me, I did some heavy cussing when I realized that it was impossible to get from Oda Ward Gymnasium to Ariake, that's a decent train ride. And then, I just couldn't make it work. So I chose Stardom, but so I'm going all Bushi Road, basically. I'm stocking up on the Bushi Road stuff, hoping I can also see All Japan and Sendai Girls too.
Anything else we got going on today?
And then, and Logan says he thinks Io Sky is going to beat Sari for the Marigold Championship. His opinion. Be interesting. They have some big shows coming up right there, but
that would be wild. If she
it would. That would be
with
crazy.
The way that Sari was portrayed in WWE and the way that Io Sky is portrayed in WWE. I don't know. That would make some people's heads explode. I'm not against it, but I do want to see the world burn sometimes.
Yeah, the thing about Sari, good grief, they had truly one of the best female wrestlers on earth, and the only thing that group could figure out what to do with her is put her in a schoolgirl outfits and give her magical powers walking through the arena, and then have her lose to much lesser talent. And I'm not even insulting the people she lost to. It's like they didn't understand how good Sari is. And she was not there. She should not have been there to put over anybody else, really, except in major takeovers at big matches. And instead, she was losing on Tuesday night to trainees. It was one of the bigger misses of this era for NXT. That was painful to watch her in that stupid gimmick.
I will say, I watched Botchamania, and they put out a new video a couple weeks ago, or maybe this past week. And one of the things was the press conference for War Games. And the War Games press conference had somebody asking Io Sky, "Hey, you got a title match against Liv Morgan. She's got the Judgment Day behind her. Do you have any backup of your own?" And she looked at the camera and she's like, "So I am a member of Damage Control." And everybody just starts corpsing. like Rhea and Bianca, they all just start dying, and this journalist is trying to dig himself out of this hole. And I was one of those like, God, I love you, Io.
I'm a big fan of Io Shirai too. So I would like to see her work. Stardom's setting up for their big thing in Yokohama, so they're going to want to have special guests on that. And Marigold's always, when they run their major shows, are going to want special guests. So it's an interesting time with two women's groups really competing for that. And I am looking forward to seeing TJPW's show there at Korakuen. It's supposed to be one of their biggest shows of the year as well. So I haven't seen TJPW live, so I'm going to be catching that. I'm going to be excited about that, and then I'm going to try to just do the ancillary stuff around town as well. I worry about trying to get into Toriano's bar when everybody is in town for Wrestle Kingdom, but I might give it a shot and see if I can.
Just go early. Just be the day drunk.
Be the day. Maybe that's what I should do. But yeah, and I'm going to be there basically the 1st through the 8th. So there are a couple of days when there aren't shows going on where I can explore some of the things like maybe the Tokon shop or the Tudo O-Khan store.
Yeah, get me something cool.
I'm going to try.
Yeah. We'll talk it out. We'll talk it out after the fact. But yeah, get something cool.
We will be back next week, folks, on Boxing Day with our guests, our sibling show, Power Bombshell. Is really fired up about that. Don't forget their show is here on the Fight Game Media Network regularly Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern.
So, Stephen, there's one last thing that I wanted to do today, and that was to wish you a happy holidays to you and your family and to all your loved ones, and wish you all the best and tell you how thankful I am that I get to do this show with you all year, every year for the last couple of years. So
I do appreciate it.
Been a great time, buddy. This is a time where it's express thanks and gratitude and all of the things. And I just want you to know, I love you, buddy. You're great.
Oh, thanks, man. This has been a blast. I love doing this show. I love being here with you every week and talking with you. And the people that are here in the chat, we love you guys too. You guys are fantastic. And we really appreciate the time you spent with us. And yeah, I mean, let's do it for another year because I love doing this.
At least, you know,
Thursdays are my favorite day of the week. So let's just keep rolling. This has been a blast.
Oh, and congratulations on decorating behind you finally.
Finally, yeah, I'm finally starting to get some decorations up in here. I've got my this is my program from when I went to Grand Sumo at Hall. I've got my autograph of that's Mitsuharu Masawa. That one's Kenta Kobashi. I've got my Antonio Inoki doll there. And that's a Harry Carey bobblehead. I got a Chicago Bear. There's a little bit
way too much crap behind me, but
little Chicago behind me.
Star Wars droids and a Wolverine helmet from the last movie. I got an X-Men poster that I customized for my 8-year-old bedroom that I dug out and I had professionally recasted into a framed picture. I got a bunch of posters over here. I got a Master Sword from Zelda. I got a shield that my wife bought me from the Disney store because apparently she loves me more than life itself. And I feel very, very lucky about that. And then my collection of dork helmets.
I'm trying to figure out that my shelves here are not deep enough for me to put up my lucha masks, but I'm thinking about getting something for this table here, maybe one of those mannequin heads, and I can just have I can rotate them through. Where I think you
can do like a hook where it has like a mask like shape on it, where you can hook it up on the wall and it can kind of sit on the thing. There's so many Etsy kind of like DIY things for stuff like that I just look it up on Etsy if I figure that somebody reputable hasn't already made it.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So well, stay tuned for more decorating ideas from all of us. But yeah. With that in mind, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's watching us live, everybody who listens to us later here, either on YouTube or as a podcast. We really appreciate you very much. And
we do.
Happy holidays, for goodness sakes. Whatever you celebrate, I hope you celebrate the hell out of it. This is a great time of year. Be with your family, be with your friends, enjoy it.
Hanukkah, Christmas, same day, cats and dogs in the same house. What's happening here, people?
Festivus for the rest of us, whatever you're doing. So for Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This has been Speaking of Strong Style, and we will talk to you again real soon.